Good Saturday morning, Looney Tunes fans. I love this music. This music is my soul. This music, however, this is What's Up, Doc. And a lot of people think that Carl Stalling wrote, the intro, the merry-go-round broke down and all that stuff, and merrily we roll along, and he did not. These were existing songs. However, What's Up, Doc, that was a Carl Stalling original, and this cartoon, Friends, is the last one that ever featured it. Isn't that something? Right off the bat, your boy Looney Tunes Critic has the info. I'm patting myself on the back. I also know the QTTV over there. That's a reference to KTTV. This cartoon does not really age well. I'll get into that in just a second, but I want to comment first on this guy's jacket. This is a technique. I don't know what the word for it is, but the pattern on the jacket doesn't move when he does. Those lines are like a window into another dimension rather than actually being physically on his body. And it's a technique where you take whatever the pattern is and you lay it down, and then you put your animation paper on top of it, and then you draw the pattern onto, and it's wherever you put the character, the pattern is wherever it is, So it gets this weird swimming effect kind of quality where the character moves, but the pattern doesn't. One of those lovely things that you could only do in a two-dimensional medium, or rather that you would only think to do in a two-dimensional medium. I would contend that if, in an alternate dimension where CGI came first and not traditional animation, no one would have ever thought to do something like that. I don't think that the brain lends itself to that kind of visual storytelling when you're confined to pixels. I don't know. Who knows what I think? I don't know what I think. It's weird. You guys tune in every Saturday to figure out what I think. And the real truth, ladies and gentlemen, is I got no idea what I think. I will say this, though. I was saying earlier that the cartoon doesn't age well. And that's for a number of reasons. Not the least of which is the fact that there really aren't too many examples of television studios being run in quite this manner. Television was still very, very new in 1956. In fact, it was just a few years old. It was new in the respect that it was, it was normalized and people could, it was like. By the way, speaking of television, that shot right there, when Cartoon Network in the 90s, about the mid-90s, 95, when they would have technical difficulties, they would put a freeze frame of that guy holding the sign rather than just like a network logo. I loved that. I always thought that was great. Now, this is the other thing that doesn't age well. You beat your wife.
Sir, and what do you do?
I'm a foot. I'm a hunter. I'm hunting for a wabbit, a quasi fresh wabbit.
Oh, a fresh hair fiend, huh? Well, Mr. Fudd, for $50, have you stopped beating your wife?
Now, it doesn't age well because of, obviously, the reference to, wife beating, but also nobody knows the reference that this is. There's two references deep that modern audiences don't really realize. The first one, by the way, that's Dawes Butler doing Groucho. But that's the first one being, Groucho Marx, because Groucho was like, 20 years on or whatever, like in terms of being in the public eye. But also, You Bet Your Life. My generation might know what it is because Bill Cosby redid it in the 90s. But there's a lot to unpack with this cartoon. Also, this is 10-year-old animation. They reanimated the Rhapsody Rabbit by Friz Freleng, cartoon from 1946. So this is 10 years before this cartoon. So you're seeing 10-year-old animation that turns into modern animation right here. Goes from Friz to McKimson. And now I've got a special treat for you guys. I've taken out the sound effects and vocal track, and we can just now hear Stalling. This is Carl Stalling's score, and this is how Stalling just does what he does so well. It's so interesting to watch these things without dialogue or sound effects. But we're gonna switch back to sound effects because that's the storytelling, right, in this gag. And by the way, that gag of you know, where Bugs does the whole Custer's Last Stand thing. He did that. He does that again in a cartoon a few years later. It's called People Are Bunny, but instead of Elmer, he does it to Daffy. That would be a real deep cut for a cosplayer, by the way, is to be Elmer in that bunny suit. Because I mean, it would just look like a person in a pink bunny suit, and it's like, no, you don't understand. I'm Elmer in Wideo Wabbit. And this is also Dawes Butler.
Gee, what a groucho.
Doing Art Carney, which is weird because Mel kind of did Art Carney for Barney Rubble. Anyway, see you next week, everybody. By the way, I can't say enough about Carl Stalling, so here's a sample of him directing in his own cartoony way.